If you're playing, the last play of the game in the second preseason game, that means you're close to the bottom of the list.
Jarrad Davis.
Jarrad Davis, that is definitely a guy I can see getting the axe. They're not going to go off of name. They're not going to go off of draft position. They're going to go off of who is the best performer, who's doing well. Jermar Jefferson, you heard at the beginning of camp, he's progressing. He's where he needs to be. But then they bring in Justin Jackson. You know what I'm saying? Justin Jackson looked pretty good. You have Malcolm Rodriguez. You have Chase Lucas. You have these guys who are beating out vets.
Speaking of those backups, I think it's quite good. Writing's on the wall. One of those guys are getting cut. With Tim Boyle, David Blau. At this point, I find them. I personally rather have David Blau. I hope Tim Boyle's a cut, but none of that. Now, nonetheless,
That makes sense.
Detroit Lions making a cut regardless. 27 of them, in fact. Any surprise names you expect to be on the chop block come next week in this final round?
Man, surprise names, yeah, because you have a bunch of guys nobody's ever heard of that are probably going to get cut.
Yeah.
Some surprise names.
I didn't know he was on the team.
Surprise names, Mike Hughes. Mike Hughes might be one that could be, that's a guy they brought in. He might be right out of here. That's a guy.
With the emergence of Chase Lucas.
With the emergence of Chase Lucas, with Jerry Jacobs not being as injured as we thought he was, maybe being able to come back pretty soon.
Yeah.
Mike Hughes might be on his way right out of town as soon as he got here. It's tough because you brought him in and Madden rated him as our highest defensive back, and dude might be off the roster. So that's a guy that I think is on the bubble. He's definitely a guy that you need to look at that might not make this team because he's costing you some money.
Yeah.
And he's going to want to play. But is he any better than Chase Lucas? Is he any better? Obviously not than Jerry Jacobs when he gets back. But you still have, you got Chris Harris. Or Charles Harris. Will Harris.
Yes.
You have Jerry Jacobs when he comes back. You have Chase Lucas. You have Jeff Okudah. And obviously my boy Amani. So is Mike Hughes the odd man out in that situation?
Yeah, and I'm kind of wondering, too, I wish that my internet worked a little bit better, but I'm curious, and if anybody in the chat is listening, how many safeties did Detroit Lions carry to the 2021 season? Because I'm looking at this list, and it's a guy that I'm personally rooting for, in Ife Melifonwu, just because I've always seen him as a safety the day he was drafted. But maybe if he's there, if he's been inactive, hasn't really been playing. Obviously, he's already a position change at this point where they didn't think he's going to work out as a cornerback. Might be a little bit of a surprise one. And, again, these are surprise cuts, guys. I don't want you – I know how you fans are. Mike takes it like, oh, these guys are falling. You can be mad about it, but – if you might be on the list, man.
I don't think Iffy's on the list. You think Iffy's on the list?
I'm just saying, surprise. You know what I'm saying? Look, man, I don't know how many safeties they carried in last year. But I will say we do run a different defense this year. I was doing, you got my text 12 a.m. last night.
Yeah.
I was like, this is the formation they're doing.
Yeah.
4-2.
I don't know why you sent that.
Well, for some reason, everyone keeps saying
they had
4-2.
5 safeties. Five safeties on the roster last year.
Okay, if he's straight. I got another list now. I'll move on. Jarrad Davis.
Jarrad Davis, that is definitely a guy I can see getting the axe. Definitely
100%.
a guy, he's also, like we said, these are surprise cuts, people. We all know that all of the nameless guys that nobody's ever heard of are going to be the first ones off.
Oh, 100%.
But these are guys that you've heard of that might have been, you thought could be a starter before training camp started. These are guys that are on the borderline list to get cut. So I think Jarrad Davis is a good one. We've obviously seen him, he got the Hard Knocks hype at then when he was in the last play of the game in the second preseason game. That doesn't bode well for you. If you're playing, the last play of the game in the second preseason game, that means you're close to the bottom of the list.
If Devin Funchess got cut, does that count as a surprise or no?
No, I think that's more of an injury thing.
Yeah.
It's, if he's healthy, if he kept doing it, he would make the team. But, I like the Jarrad Davis one because obviously the emergence of Malcolm Rodriguez. Obviously you still have Alex Anzalone. You've got Derek Barnes. You've got Chris Board. And then after that, Davis might be the one to get the axe. We already saw them cut Sean Dion Hamilton, so you don't have to worry about that.
100%.
So maybe they keep on Davis because they just cut a linebacker, but we'll see.
And they're only starting two linebackers at a time.
Yes.
I could definitely see this linebacker room getting obliterated.
Cut down. Yeah, it's not like anybody's.
4 or 5 guys are
nobody is safe except for Malcolm and Alex.
Yeah.
These linebackers are all suspect at best. So, Jarrad Davis, you brought him in here as a flyer to see if he could be a guy that could make this team, that could help this team win. And it hasn't been looking good.
James Houston. I know he's a draft pick. I don't know if he could cut practice squad maybe because the term changed some sort of rights to him, I assume, as a draft pick. But James Houston, I don't think he's made any type of impression on this team enough to deserve a roster spot.
No, definitely a guy that could be cut. Definitely a guy that's cuttable. Like you said, you haven't seen anything from him. You haven't heard anything from him. So I wouldn't mind that at all. Another guy I've been looking at, we've been talking about a lot, Jermar Jefferson.
Yeah.
Jermar Jefferson, we saw him last year. We saw him make some plays, looked good. You heard at the beginning of camp, he made some steps forward. He's progressing. He's where he needs to be. But then they bring in Justin Jackson. You know what I'm saying? Justin Jackson looked pretty good. Justin Jackson looked pretty damn good when he got some runs.
Justin Jackson did look good.
You have the guys. You have the three set. Obviously, you got Swift, Jamal, Craig. Yeah. Craig. Come on, Craig. I ain't putting down my gun. I ain't Craig. So you have a guy like that is your third running back. The fourth running back, I think we all expect it to be Justin Jackson after what he did, after how he performed. And then the fifth running back is probably going to be Godwin, because what Godwin does in special teams, what he does outside, they said Jermar Jefferson was lacking in special teams. He wasn't bringing that kind of consistency into special teams, and we know he's got stone hands. So I wouldn't be surprised if he was the guy to get the X. Sam, how do you feel? You think Jermar Jefferson is on the chopping block?
Oh, I think there's definitely a chance that he's on the chopping block because you've got the number one Swift, you got Jamal Williams, you have Craig Reynolds, who I think will be the clear number 3, and then you have Justin Jackson. Justin Jackson was actually the name that I was going to say maybe a surprise cut, but I would completely disagree with it because I think he's a savvy veteran.
Yes.
He's obviously showed out this preseason, and he's good catching the ball out of the backfield.
Yes.
But Jermar Jefferson, he might be the odd man out. Either him or Godwin Igwebuike is not making this team. Another kind of sneaky name, I don't know if it would be a surprise because you stole all the good ones. Jarrad Davis was mine. What about Brock Wright?
Ooh.
I was thinking
Zylstra has been getting a lot of love lately.
Hey.
And you got Funches, who who did well, who we don't know about his injury. I think he's back. I think it was just a stinger. So Brock Wright might be an odd man out. We saw him, he's a big guy. I believe he had a couple nice catches in that game I was at, that Minnesota game last year. He had a couple nice catches, so I like that one, Sam. That's a good one. Brock Wright, is he on the chopping block?
I mean, I think he might be, just because, like you said, Zylstra, Devin Funchess, even like a James Mitchell. But like I said, the names that you mentioned, Mike Hughes, Jarrad Davis, I think those are the two obvious ones. Mike Hughes because he was brought in kind of as a veteran and he cost them a little bit of money, and a lot of young people like A.J. Parker and Jerry Jacobs and, of course, Will Harris, Jeff Okudah. There's a lot of cornerback depth, even if they all aren't very good. And then the linebacking crew with the mergers of Malcolm Rodriguez, even though Malcolm Rodriguez and Jarrad Davis are not the same players per se.
Malcolm's way better.
Hey, I mean, we hope so. He better be way better. I mean, he's a 6th-round pick. You shouldn't say he better be, but
he's starting over Jarrad at this point. He's way better.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, if he can approximate what he did at Oklahoma State at some point in his career, that would be one of the great picks the Lions have ever had.
Honestly.
All pro level, he does that.
All pro level if he does what?
If he does what he did at Oklahoma State.
Oh, yeah.
Dude was on Oklahoma State.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's an interesting one, though, Justin Jackson, because he is a late comer to the team. However, I would be...
Late comer.
Only because Deuce Staley was on the mic the other day, and he enjoyed that he brought to the running back room because it's so damn competitive.
Yeah.
He put guys on their asses like, damn, I'm not a lock for this team anymore because this dude is outproducing me. And he's only been here a week.
Yeah, he, like you said, he did come late. But I don't think they'll pull out because normally when you come late, you don't pull out. So for Justin Jackson to lose this team, to lose his spot on this team, I think he will have to do something completely self-destructive in the third game. I think he showed enough in that second game. He was the best running back on the field in that game for the Lions. They all got the same amount of attempts. He had the most yards. He had the longest carry. So I expect them to keep him. Like we said, he is a savvy veteran, like Sam said. He does have great hands coming out of the backfield, like Sam said, and that is something you need out of those backup running back spots. Like that is, I think, what is the big thing that's going to get Jermar Jefferson off of this roster is because he's shown the inability to catch the ball out of the backfield and from what we've seen so far. So I like Justin Jackson. He was a great backup for Eckler for the Chargers. He was the third string, actually. Eckler got hurt, then Josh Kelly got hurt, and they brought in Josh Jackson, and he was balling for a while. He was fantasy eligible. He was a player that you could pick up because he was going for 100 yards and a touchdown. So I like it. I think he has a spot on his team unless he does something completely self-destructive in the third game.
100%, I'm with you. I think the fumble hurt him a little bit, but obviously he had the production. They all had the same amount of attempts. He was the one who obviously came on top of that one. So I'm with you a little bit. I would be a little bit surprised if Justin Jackson got cut, making another gentleman in that room a surprise cut. Godwin, Jermar, like what are those two? Like which one?
I think Jermar is more cuttable than Godwin. Because what Godwin does with the special teams, he does a lot more in special teams. We heard Dan Campbell saying that Jermar needs to work on his special teams presence. Like, if you're the 4th, 5th, 6th running back on a team, you need to be a baller on special teams. You 100%. Need to be doing something else to make yourself available, to make yourself valuable. Thank you. To make yourself a piece that they can't just move away from. So I'm excited for this battle to see how it turns out. I think they'll all have this. They'll do the kind of thing they did. Yeah, I don't like that either. Something's going to go wrong. But I expect them to make some plays. I expect them to all, again, like they did in Game 2, get the same kind of carries, get the same kind of situation to where they're all going to have the same sample size and they can judge them off that equally.
Yeah, Frank Ragnow getting cut. No, I'm joking. No, a lot of guys secondary on the chopping block. Mark Gilbert, I can see. Boswell, I can see going. Chase Lucas putting a lot of guys on notice. That locker room's getting a little bit intense too. But I guarantee as coaches they love that because that forces these guys to bring it every single day.
It does, 100%. And that's what these coaches have preached, is that they're not going to just let you go by as, oh, you're just, you've been there before, you've done it. No, everybody's getting their equal chance. You saw the Hard Knocks bit with Shepard where he's like, I'm not going to start a rookie. I don't want to start a rookie, but he's making me start a rookie because he's outplaying all you guys, So they're not going to go off of name. They're not going to go off of draft position. They're going to go off of who is the best performer, who's doing well. And right now, Chase Lucas looks like he's outperforming Mike Hughes.
Flannel Sam, I haven't got to hear your take on the whole Chase Lucas stuff and the emergence of Chase Lucas. Like, you think it's a real deal or what's up?
I mean, he's a 7th-round pick, but he's a veteran 7th-round pick. I believe he's 25 years old. Yeah. It's just kind of amazing how he's got some major, cojones on him. He's the guy that's out there acting almost like the leader of the secondary of that second team as a rookie. That is certainly impressive. If he would have caught that pick, though, maybe he would be more likely to make the team. But I think he's going to make the team. I don't know if he's going to contribute, but as a valuable backup and as kind of already a vocal type of leader in year one, he's definitely promising, and of course he's very cheap. He's a 7th-round pick on a rookie deal. I mean, you can't really ask for anything better than that.
Okay, yeah. So it's really it's not something you can ask for. You don't expect these guys to be competing for jobs when they come out of the 6th round, the 7th round. You have Malcolm Rodriguez, you have Chase Lucas, you have these guys who are beating out vets. It's like these guys, even though Jarrad Davis is a guy that they brought in to see what he can do, he's getting beat out by a rookie linebacker. Chris Board, a guy they brought in to try to be a starter, he's getting beat out by a rookie linebacker. Mike Hughes, a guy they brought in to be a starter, to be CB2, is getting beat out. Well, not CB2, but the slot cornerback is getting beat out by Chase Lucas. So it's a spawn of the coaching staff, them being so competitive, them giving each other the business. You have these guys fighting against each other every single snap, fighting for that competition, fighting for that starting spot, and that's what you want out of these guys, honestly.